Sean Cahill now, who I believe now is with us, the Chief Master-at-Arms on board the USS Princeton in 2004, when there were widespread UFO sightings, some of which are going to be released in this new Pentagon UFO-related document. Thank you very much for joining us, Sean. Great to have you on board. Now, what can we expect from these released documents, do you think? Is there finally going to be proof of aliens visiting Earth?
Good morning, Patrick. That's a question a lot of people ask up front, and I think we're asking the wrong question first. There's a lot of things that we're going to have to learn before we put the big A word on any of this.
The A word being alien, presumably, yes. Also, can I just say, I think you've got my favourite ever voice that I've had on radio. It's fantastic. Okay. Well, look, what question should I be asking then? You were there. Come on.
Well, the question that we're asking, and the question that Congress has tasked the UAPTF, or the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, with, has been to gather all information that the United States government as a whole has collected on this subject. Period. So that's what has been asked for. Now the question is, what kind of cooperation is that task force going to get from all of the different agencies within our government?
Well. Do you think that there is, if there is, I don't know, any kind of credible evidence, I suppose, that something otherworldly is coming? I mean, do they want to let us know about it? Do they want to release it? Do they want to acknowledge it?
Well, that's a good question. And general information likes to be released. It doesn't do well locked up. So the question is, why was this information never brought under an umbrella and reported to the American people and then the world at large? So those are a lot of the questions, are what we have to set up first. The questions are, what do we have? After that, we have to realize what has been the history of this.
Okay, so I would like to ask you now. You were, of course, Master-at-Arms, which is a cracking title, by the way, on board the USS Princeton in 2004 during these widespread tic-tac-shaped UAP sightings that were there. What was your lived experience of this?
It was a very interesting experience at the time. We spent 3 to 4 days coordinating ship movements and efforts to try to determine whether or not what we were seeing on the radar, what Senior Chief Kevin Day and others were tracking, whether or not that was actually a solid object or not. Once it was determined that it was a solid object, we sortied aircraft after it and were able to determine that it was real, and that we brought back gun camera footage of it. So we had numerous tracks of data. So this was a real event, and these were real craft.
So just talk me through what was happening in terms of things were popping up on your radar, were they, quite regularly, and understandably you were quite confused about them. What drew your attention to them apart from the fact they were there? They were moving strangely, were they?
Yes, sir. They were coming in at approximately suborbital altitudes, roughly 70 to 80,000 feet, and then immediately translating straight down to to sea level, right above the water, nearly instantaneously. They were exhibiting other what Luis Elizondo calls the 5 observables: hypersonic velocity, instantaneous movement, anti-gravity, low observability, aka cloaking. All of these different things were observed by numerous vectors that day.
So, look, is there a possibility that we have technology, top secret technology, that is way ahead of quote-unquote our time? Could it be that?
Many people have speculated that that's the case. Our scientific method, our quantum physics, astrophysics, means of propulsion, what we understand does not match what these craft were able to do in any way, shape, or form.
And so the logical, which sounds crazy to say, but the logical conclusion there, I suppose, is that this was something from another world?
I think that is completely a hypothesis that we have to look at. We live in a very large universe. There are a lot of possibilities. It doesn't just have to be that, but that is one that we definitely need to be.
What are some of the others then? Because look, you're obviously much more knowledgeable about this particular issue than I am. I mean, what are some of the others? If it's not advanced technology that we ourselves have created, if it's not something from another world, what could it be?
Some of the other options fall into categories like ultra-terrestrials. Perhaps there's another species inhabiting the Earth with us, perhaps in the ocean, for example, that we are just bumping into, so to speak. There are other people that speculate about multi-dimensional origins, or even time-traveling humans from the future.
Yeah, and that is, I mean, it sounds absolutely nuts to be talking about this at 11:55 in the morning on a on a Saturday, but that is an area, the time traveling element thing, that I personally am I'm fascinated. Just quickly, because I'm very sorry I could talk to you all day, but we are going to have to go to the news shortly. But look, just quickly, do you think the public at large would be able to handle the idea of the fact that there maybe had been aliens here? If it comes up, which it won't say, but if it does come out and say aliens have been here, do you think we'd be able to deal with that?
If that were the case, yes, I do. I think that there is something about the human spirit that has reached a point where they're ready for something new. That's a personal feeling of mine, but I think that that's probably true.
Look, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. I could talk to you all day about this, and it's fascinating stuff. And hopefully when this report is released and we can see it in a bit more detail, it would be great to have you back on and get your views on that, not least because you do have the best voice for radio that anyone's ever created. So thank you very much. Retired US Navy Chief there, Sean Cahill, who was Chief Master at Arms on board the USS Princeton in 2004, during these UFO sightings that are now becoming the kind of the headline act, as it were, really, of this Pentagon report that's being released next week, which is whether